Alrighty folks, it is 10 a.m. on a Saturday and I had the idea of making some carrot wine. These ones are a bit old and crappy, I shouldn't show the brand. These ones are quite new, but these are only 99 cents a kilo or 98 cents a kilo. So 2 kilos of carrots, sorry, I'm still half asleep or half drunk from last night. 2 kilos of carrots is cheaper than 2 kilos of sugar right now, which is insane, I think. I can't remember the price of sugar, but I'm going to put them through the mincer and boil them and see if we can ferment them and what it turns out like. I'm not sure if it's just an Australian thing, but I'm pretty certain that since the beginning of time, humankind has looked at objects around them and thought, can I turn this into alcohol and get shit-faced on it? So this week, we're going to find out if you can get shit-faced on carrots. Alrighty, so the process here, now that I've got about 1.5 kilos of carrots cut up, is I'm going to put them through the good old Healthy Choice MM30. I've got this on the largest grape size. Some tops that were sprouting, so I'll stick them in the garden in a bit. Once they're 1.5 kilos all grated, I'm then going to chuck it into this and I'm going to boil it for probably a good half hour. Because I haven't washed any of those carrots and some of them have bits of black on them because they're pretty old. But also, that should draw the sugars out as best as I understand it. Now, this should work. Carrots are 4 to 5% sugar from what I can find. So you should be able to ferment it to a degree. Whether it's any good as far as taste goes and what the resulting alcohol is ABV or percentage wise, we're yet to tell. But let's get started.
Noisy bitch.
We now have our 1.5 kilos of carrot mash. And the MM30 didn't stall out once. I did forget to put the blade in there, so I added that afterwards. And I ran a little bit of water through at the end just to flush it out. But this all seems good. So it's going to go into here. Going to probably add about 1.5 kilos of water or enough to cover it. I'm going to more than cover it. I'm going to leave a bit of headroom actually, and then we'll chuck it on the stove and get it boiling. Alrighty, that's on the boil now. I added about 4 litres of water to the 1.5 kilos of ground carrot. I've got that rip roaring, but as soon as it starts boiling, I'm just going to bring it down to a simmer and probably leave it there for about an hour. Draw out as much of the sugars as I can. And I'm not sure yet if I'm going to strain it or not. We'll see how we go. Alrighty, so we've got our lovely carrot slop, I guess. I'm going to strain it into this other container here. It'll take a little while doing it bit by bit, but just filter out pretty much the rest of that carrot because any sugars should have leached out and been dissolved in that water by now. It's all strained and filtered out. You can see here that what's left is warm and still a bit moist, but there's, I don't know, what's that say? Has it got a measurement on the side there somewhere? I thought this had measurements. Probably 2 litres, 3 litres of water because we boiled it a bit. However, I'm going to put this back in for another boil because I can still taste flavour in it. So I reckon there's still more to come out. We might have not put enough water in, so it was just at a saturation limit. And I'll just reuse this same pot for that. Alrighty, so you can see that's just starting to boil now. This is the same carrot pulp, but with a fresh couple of litres of water. I did a bit more this time too. So I'm going to leave this boiling or simmering, probably. I'll crank it down a little bit shortly. I'll leave it for another hour or so. You can see there's a bit of colour that came out. You can definitely smell the carroty smell. So there's going to be some, I don't know, pectins or some crap or whatever's in there going on. Oh, check out that. Neat. And then I'll strain it and combine it with the other one. So we'll probably all up have maybe 10 litres that I'll just chuck some yeast into and we'll see what happens. Righty, that's the second batch all strained out. Now, to be honest, seeing what was coming off this second boiling, I think everything did come across in the first one. There was really not much flavour to it, not much colour either, but having more doesn't hurt. So what I'm going to do, this is warm as hell. Going to stick this lid on this and put it in the other room until tomorrow and bring it down to room temperature before we bloom some yeast and pitch it in. So catch you guys on the morrow. Alrighty, so overnight this has come down to room temperature now, which is about 22 degrees. I've got some basic baker's yeast, which I get from Woolies. I'm just going to pitch it straight in, and I'm going to go a bit hefty. I will strain this afterwards. Hopefully all the nutrients that the yeast is wrapped in get eaten up. They generally will. I just don't want too many strange flavours. I mean, carrot wine's going to be strange enough. So I'm not going to bother airlocking this or anything like that. It's not going to be a particularly long ferment or one I care very much about. So all I'm going to do is put this lid back on, and I'd say, given that this was boiled to the gills, that it's going to be very sterilised. And I'm just going to put it in a cupboard in a dark place, and in a week we'll come back and we'll see what it's like. Let me quickly do some math. Having done a bit of math, about 1.5 kilos of carrots, assuming it's 4 to 5% sugar, means we had about 667.5 grams of sugar, which isn't very much. Add that to about 6 litres of water. And in theory, from what I understand, this 6 litres should turn into about 7%. Baker's yeast doesn't usually go over about 10% anyway. So we'll let this ferment. That, I reckon it could probably hit 6% in a week if that was enough yeast. I think, yeah, that's already starting to bloom, which looks good. If we get a bit of closeness in there. Yeah, that's doing good. And then, given that there's about 6 litres in here, I might even just chuck in an air still or something like that, borrow one from a mate, and bring it across once to really filter it and mix it back down to about 3 litres at about 13%. So we've got some proper wines there, carrot wine as such, and see what it tastes like. So hold tight. Be back in a week or two with part 2, showing what it tastes like. Like, subscribe, hit the little bell if you want to get alerted when this comes out. Cheers, folks.